Okay, so welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We are all getting used to this new format. I have never done a webinar before, so if something weird happens, I apologize. I apologize in advance. But before we start, I just want to thank our team here, David, Adam, Elvie, and Ross, for working so hard the last couple of weeks. And also our board of directors for getting us back on the courts so quickly. We really look forward to evolving in the next few weeks and providing as much tennis related activities as we possibly can. So thank you all for your hard work, and thank you for getting this together tonight for all of us. I think everybody knows everyone here, but below me is David. To the top left is Adam, and welcome Elvie. Elvie's below Adam. I don't know if all our squares are aligned in the same way. And of course, Ross is at the bottom. I don't know if all of you have met Elvie, but Elvie is our new pro, and she will be joining us at the end of the month. And Elvie, if you could just take a few minutes to introduce yourself and give us a little bio about yourself and how you came to play tennis, your tennis background, what you love about teaching, that would be great. And I know all our members are looking forward to meeting you and getting to know you more.
Awesome. Thank you, Ria. I hope my connection's not great, so I hope this works out and I can stay the whole meeting and you guys can hear me. So hi everybody, I'm Elvie, and hopefully I'm there by the end of the month. I'm from Madrid, Spain, and I started playing tennis when I was very young because my dad liked to play tennis, and just that turned out to be my thing. So my older sisters also played, so they kind of had the path ready for me and started competing young, and I mean played at every level in Spain, international too. And then I think I was about 17 or so where I decided to stop playing WTA and all of that. I was playing qualies and I wasn't living at home. I was studying high school. It was just really hard. And I kept getting injured. So I kind of made that decision of, you know what, I know I can get a scholarship. So I did that. I finished high school and then moved to the States, and I stayed, and I loved playing college tennis. It was so fun. I wish I had known about it before I started any pro tennis because it was really fun. And then I started teaching tennis kind of like by accident. Somebody asked me to start teaching them because I guess I was a good player. And I'm like, okay, sure. And I loved helping people. And it's kind of came natural. And I loved it. It was adults, kids, it didn't matter what level. I felt like I could always bring something to the table. And I never stopped. And I'm so happy doing it. So I've been in New England since 2010 that I graduated college, teaching, and I don't know. It's I kind of saw the ad that your club put out, and I like the idea of getting out of the cold weather and give it a try. And you guys are awesome. I went out there. I loved meeting all of you, and I'm so excited this is finally happening. So that's pretty much it.
Well, Elvie, thank you so much. We really look forward to having you here and to having you join the team. We wish you a very safe drive out here, and we will see you soon.
Thank you.
So I will turn this webinar over to Adam, who has prepared some amazing content for us tonight. If you haven't joined one of his live Zoom fitness sessions. They are really amazing. He knows his stuff. So I will turn it over to him so he can share his knowledge of how to best get back to tennis play.
All right. Thank you, Ria. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I'm going to. All right. So what we're going to be going over is not so much the COVID-related player guidelines as far as like, rotating courts on either side of the net or not touching each other's tennis balls or any of that. There's a lot of resources for that already, so it's not something we're going to focus a ton on today. This is more about the actual playing the game, getting back on court, and being able to play at the level that we were at 2 months ago. So the things we're going to go through today is really just what to expect when you come back. There are some physiological changes that may have happened or that did happen over the course of the last 2 months. And then the physical demands of tennis. Tennis is really demanding. So we're just going to go over some things that you're going to be required to do when you're on court. We'll also be going over the injury risks that are associated with tennis, and then we'll wrap things up with five ways to increase your performance, some things you can add to your tennis routine as you're coming back on the court, 5 strategies that you can use to help return to play successfully, and then we're going to be going over a few drills and games that we can go over in the new kind of social distancing era of tennis, is what I called it. Basically, we're going to be having to play a lot of singles games and points going forward. Some of you maybe have not been really exposed to that and playing a lot of doubles. So it's important that we get a good mix of those things. So I'm going to show you guys a video here of what tennis is. Oh man, I don't have it. I'm sorry. This is going to be what is likely. Sorry, I'm not prepared.
Yes, you are, Adam.
No, I had it up and then my computer crashed when I. Here we go. So this is likely what is going to happen to us on court. Coming back. All right, so hopefully none of those are going to happen to you. And that's usually what we are likely more concerned about, is the, that we're missing shots. We're not playing at the same level that we're accustomed to. But in reality, what we need to be more concerned with is the fact that we've had such a long layoff. And having that layoff carries some back end risk, where if we came back from an injury, that the limitations that we'd have from that injury would be a lot more front of mind. So let's say, I had a shoulder injury at the same time that we went on quarantine. I rehabbed through quarantine. I come back onto the court. I'm going to be a lot more mindful of what I can and can't do. I'm going to be a lot more mindful of pushing myself too far, serving too much, high forehands, whatever it may be. Maybe it's my ankle, maybe it's my shoulder, whatever it is. When we came back, when we had this layoff, we were basically reduced physical activity. We didn't have the intensity. We didn't have the frequency of what, some of you were playing 5-6 days a week, maybe even every day. That intensity, we've developed, some physical adaptations. Those are very likely decreased. So what we're looking at is over the course of the next 2 weeks, we come out too fast, too hard, we're probably going to be setting ourselves up for injury. That's something we just have to be aware of going forward. So speaking of how the quarantine has affected your fitness ability, across the board, everyone's going to have pretty much a decrease in their aerobic capacity. So if you were used to playing, like I said, 5 to 6, even 7 days a week, and you were here multiple hours a day, and then you've gone to nothing, or being forced to walk, for being forced to run, doing physical activity that maybe you weren't really accustomed to because gyms are closed, because tennis courts were closed, you're going to have that decrease in your body's ability to carry oxygen to your muscles. In addition, you're going to have a decrease in muscle mass, overall strength, and power. If you've actually gotten on court the last couple of days, you've probably noticed your legs are a little bit heavy. You're probably a little bit slower to the ball. Things are a little bit tougher, and they don't really feel as good as it used to before. The good thing is, though, if you had done any physical activity over the course of the quarantine, whether it was working out at home, doing the Zoom classes with me the last couple of weeks, anything, again, that gets your heart rate up, gets you into that little bit of intensity, even if it's not as specific as tennis, it would mitigate some of these effects. So if you were a total couch potato, you did nothing, you're going to be coming back, your road's going to be a lot longer coming back. Everyone's had to adapt in terms of how they're getting their physical activity now with gyms closed, and how we're having to adjust on the tennis court. So if you were able to do something, all is not lost. You are a lot better off than the people that did nothing. So speaking of tennis and just how demanding of a sport it is, the best description I found is that it's a game of continual emergencies. Basically, the ball can come in any direction, any spin, any placement, and you have to be ready for it. You're doing a lot of sprinting, you're doing a lot of lunging, you're doing a lot of very high efforts. Tennis in and of itself is a sport that requires the ability to sprint. It requires agility. It requires coordination, flexibility, strength, endurance. I mean, the list goes on. There's just so much that this game requires, and you don't really think about it when you're playing it every day. You have to be an exceptional mover. You have to be able to move in different directions. The strength that you get from playing is needed for the performance. It's also for injury reduction as well. And we've kind of lost all of that. That's pretty much gone. We can't really replicate it as well at home. That's just the truth. It's just going to be something we have to deal with. But the good thing is you can prepare for that. You can improve that. And those physical demands that tennis requires does lead to some positive changes. You will improve, like I said, cardiovascularly. You will improve power. It will be specific to tennis, but there will be some improvements there. So going on to the risk of injury. So this will kind of make more sense as we talk, as we go along here. But this is just a summary of the last, or actually not the last 5 years, 5 years from 2012 to 2016 that was done with ATP players. And you can really just see how wide a range of injuries there are in tennis. And this has nothing to do with the fact that we were just coming off a 2-month break. This is if you're just playing the game every day, and if you're playing it for a living like these players are, you're still susceptible to injury. And it's funny how the areas of the body that we might think are more injured than others, maybe the elbow, the shoulder, the ankle, are actually a lot lower than the spine. The spine is actually one of the biggest injured parts of the body. And this data also correlates to recreational players and junior players as well. So again, this is really just to illustrate that there's a potential for injury. It's not like tennis is not the most risky sport. But again, we're coupling this with a time off, a break. We need to be aware that these are the things that could happen. Some of the things that you'll likely run into going forward, especially after a long break, are more acute injuries rather than chronic injuries. If we've been playing for a long time, we're probably going to get more chronic injuries. And a chronic injury is basically an acute injury, something that happens recently. that then develops into a nagging injury, something that stays with us for a long time. Something like a tennis elbow, something like a rotator cuff impingement, something to that effect. What we'll likely see if we're not prepared, muscle strains, ankle sprains, blisters. Blisters are probably going to be something that everybody's going to experience over the next 3 to 4 weeks. You're going to get those friction blisters just from not having the calluses built up from not having hit for the last 2 months. The thing to really be focused on as you're returning to the court is that first bullet point there, is that most injuries are going to be, especially after a layoff, are going to come from increased volume and intensity. So what that means is if you're coming out from not having hit a tennis ball for the last 2 months, and then you go straight into playing 2 to 3 hours a day, 7 days straight, there's a very high risk there of an injury because, again, we weren't in the conditions that will allow us to handle that increase in volume and intensity. So there's ways around it. There's ways to manage that, but it is again something we need to be aware of. Something we probably, again, not front of mind if we aren't already injured. We're thinking maybe we can just run out there and play as we normally were, but we'll soon find out that's not the case. Something else to keep in mind too is that, again, your cardiovascular system has decreased. Your efficiency to your fitness basically has decreased. So with that will come more fatigue, or maybe a longer recovery period. You won't really be able to just snap back and play the next day for the same amount of time. So that's something to be aware of too, where if you go out and you try to play tired, you play fatigued, you play with heavy legs, it might not turn out well. Not to say that every time you go out sore is a bad thing. It's just something, again, we need to be aware of. We also need to be aware of kind of how our body responds to the new intensity and the new or the increased volume that we're going to get. And again, the specificity of tennis, because it is so demanding, we will likely have muscle soreness. You will have this coming back. It's really good to understand how your body, or how you react to the increased volume and the intensity, and understand that if you're really sore after a hard hit, maybe you don't go as hard the next day. The muscle soreness that does come later, maybe 2 or 3 days, maybe a day after a hard hit, it can alter your biomechanics a bit. It can reduce performance. It also just lessens the amount of fuel that your body is able to produce to actually get you to do the things that you want to do. Again, the good thing is what I'm always going to highlight is that if you're training appropriately, you can mitigate these injury risks. You can always protect against those injury risks. Okay, so what does it take to be a well-conditioned athlete? How can we reduce injury? The answer is there. Basically, supplementing your on-court hitting with off-court work. So what that means is really just getting in the gym. Now, we don't have access to a gym, but there's plenty of body weight stuff that we can do. There's resistance bands, exercises. There's a lot of stuff that we're going to get into later today that you can really add to your training already to turn yourself into a well-conditioned athlete, someone that's a little more durable on court, someone that's not really going to be susceptible as much to the injuries that tennis does expose us to. So this chart here is something that I want us to all really pay attention to as well, is that there is a sweet spot in terms of what you add to, or what you add as a supplement. You can see basically right here, if we add too much, this high training load here, yes, it can turn into high fitness. We can get some good rewards from that, but it also does increase your injury risk, which then leads to poor performance, which then puts us in the cycle of always having to rehab and get better to get back on court. And it just kind of starts a cycle. If you don't do enough, let's say we just go out and we hit, all we do is hit, we're trying to get in shape by hitting instead of getting in shape to hit, then we do increase injury risk, and then we actually increase the risk of subsequent injuries. So we actually get we're not exposed to enough intensity, we're not exposed to enough volume in the right way, it could lead to more injuries down the road. If your adequate training loads are there, you've got the right volume, you've got the right mix and the right specificity, it will decrease the soft tissue injury risk, which in turn leads to good performance because you're not injured. It also will lead to high fitness, which will then lead to good performance. So whether you're a competitive player, whether you're just a social player, all of this does apply. It's again, just at what level do you want to apply this to your game, and what you really want to get out of it. So really this is the most actionable stuff here that everybody should be doing, regardless of what your goals are as a player. Obviously, some of you are going to be doing this a little bit more than others. If you're just a social player, there's probably 2 of these things that I would recommend that you always do. If you're really serious about improving, you're wanting to get up a level, you're wanting to, whatever it may be, adding these 5 is going to be huge for your game, because it's one of the things that's missing from a lot of players' repertoire. It's just something that not a lot of players don't do. First and foremost is going to be that dynamic warm-up. If you're going onto the court and you're right away going full court hitting balls, you haven't adequately raised that tissue temperature. You haven't really found the muscle hasn't really been able to warm up. That's what the warm up is. Your joints aren't lubricated. You're not really mentally ready to go as well. So if you then try to lunge for a ball on cold muscles, it's not going to be pliable. It's not going to be able to stretch. You're not going to be able to find that range of motion, again, which leads to injury. We're talking 5 minutes before every hit. Maybe not even that. You could probably get 3 to 5 minutes. You can run through some things that gets your heart rate up, gets a little sweat going, and gets you ready for the demands of whatever your workout may be that day. In addition, cooling down is something that, in all my experience as a coach, I've never seen anybody actually cool down after coming off the court from a hit. It's usually pack the bag, say hi, grab a beer, whatever it is. You probably go right to sitting down, jump in the car, and you leave, instead of just taking the 3 to 5 minutes to do a little bit of static stretching. It doesn't have to be a lot, but it does prepare you better for the next day. This is kind of all these things where we accumulate this fitness as we go along. When you skip days or when you don't do something, it's kind of like not brushing your teeth every other day. Like at some point it's going to catch up with you. You do it every day, you're going to be fine, or flossing for that matter. It's kind of just one of those. If you think about it like that, it's 5 minutes out of your day where you are getting a huge benefit. Mobility is number 3 on there. Actually, these are not actually in order, so don't think that they're dynamic warm-up is the most important and prehab's the least important. It's just there as a list. Mobility, it's going to be different for everybody. Some of you are going to have tight hips. Some of you are going to have tight calves. Maybe the shoulder mobility is not there. But if you work on enhancing that range of motion throughout the week, the performance on court, you'll definitely see the performance on court. It'll be a huge game changer for everybody. Strength and conditioning program, again, really take stock. Think about, are you doing anything off court to supplement your hitting? If tennis is your main sport, it's your only sport, and you are a competitive athlete, strength and conditioning is probably probably the biggest thing that you can add that will just absolutely change your game. If you are strong enough for the demands of tennis, there's no question. In my experience, fitness, the strength and conditioning portion, is the limiting factor for recreational players, competitive recreational players. The difference between a good 4.0 player and a mediocre 4.0 player, at any level, 4, 5, 5.0, doesn't matter. It comes down to fitness. It comes down to the ability to just have the physical qualities. Are you able to do the things that are required of you on court? Are you able to find those ranges of motion? If you're not, that's going to be the limiting factor. You're not going to be able to go after the balls that a player that can find those positions and is strong in those ranges of motion, it doesn't compare. Prehab. If any of you have been injured before, you've likely gone through rehab. Prehab is basically the same thing. It just happens before you get injured. It's a maintenance thing. I like to think of it as it's just kind of it's keeping oil in your car topped off. It's keeping the gas tank full. It's keeping the wiper fluid full. It's just really just whatever your nagging spot is, whether it's your shoulder, your ankle, your wrist, your elbow, whatever it may be, taking care of it and reducing that chance of injury is huge. And then we also can't overlook stuff like nutrition, hydration, and sleep. Obviously, you want to sleep more than 3 times a week. You want to be doing 7 times a week, but you get the idea. So adding these routines to your schedule, easiest thing to do is just take stock. Do a needs analysis of where you are. Like, be honest with your injury history and things that you've dealt with in the past. If you've got pain or stiffness, or it's hard to tie your shoes or hard to scratch your back, whatever, stuff like that, you can really pinpoint what it is that's going to hurt your performance on court. Not only just not being able to perform things on court, but just being able to try some mobility exercises and see what works and what doesn't. All of those things that I had listed on the previous slide, you can really do in 6 hours a week. You can add 5 minutes before every hit to do the dynamic warm-up, 5 minutes after every hit to do a cool down. This is if you're hitting like 5-6 days a week as well. Mobility, it's 20 minutes every session. You can do it every day. You can do it 3 times a week. You'll probably get the benefits either way. Strength and conditioning as well. If you're in season, maybe it's 2 days a week. If you're in a building phase like we are now, where competition is there's no real timeline. We don't really know when the next competition is going to be. We could probably be doing 4 days a week. You can really maximize the time that we have now to get the most out of this. Prehab maintenance, I probably do stuff daily with mobility and prehab resistance band stuff. I have resistance bands lying all over the house. I'm doing some kind of work daily. Like I said, now's the time to really start to build this foundation. I've never seen a pyramid fall over. So if you have a solid base like a pyramid, you're not gonna fail. You're not gonna get injured. It's really gonna set you up for success. You're gonna be able to play tennis longer. You're gonna be able to play tennis at a higher level, and you're just gonna get more enjoyment out of it, because we all like to play tennis well. It's more exciting that way. Okay, so the 5 strategies that we can do to really apply this is just kind of look at things a little bit from a higher view, because we're in the situation we are. Our lives have kind of changed a lot. I mean, some people are having to homeschool kids. We're having to cook a lot at home. We're just kind of stuck at home. If you can schedule time to do these things, like I said, 6 hours a week, if you can find that time, again, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, you're definitely going to thank yourself. When you're on court, when you do get a chance to get on court, keep your hitting sessions really simple and highly focused. The goal shouldn't be to go out and start, playing 2 out of 3 sets right away. The goal shouldn't be, trying to hit your serve as hard as you can. We'll go into this a little bit in the drills and games, but we should be pretty focused, highly focused on a certain aspect each training session. So for example, your first day out might be more of a short court day, might be more of a skills and grips day. It might be consistency down the middle. There might be just some 1 or 2 focuses that you can really put a lot of time and energy into for that hour and a half that you're out on court, and make the most of your hitting. Something we referenced earlier too is just being able to listen to your body. Know the difference between soreness and pain. I think that's going to be something big going forward, is that just being able to regulate what you're doing each day. If one day you just feel great, but then the next day you've got that soreness coming up and you're just feeling a little slow, you can still hit, but don't try to be a hero. Go out there and play the 2 out of 3 sets and really kill yourself that way. Like the video we showed earlier, remove your ego especially as we're coming back. The technical side of tennis is probably going to be the one that comes back just a little bit slower, just because we don't have the repetitions. So be okay with it. Be okay with the fact that you're going to miss, you're going to frame some balls, you're going to hit the fence, you're not going to be as consistent as you'd like. So, just go out there with a solid frame of reference. The three things that I like to really focus on here too is being patient with the results and with your return to the court, being flexible when it comes to, just how you feel day to day, and then how things are going and who you're having to hit with. Maybe you're having to hit with your family more than you would like. It's like, it's just kind of how things are right now. But also be consistent. Go out there and actually take the time to do these things. And again, it will definitely pay off when we're back to normal. So the last thing I'm going to wrap up with is the on-court portion. I was hoping to film some stuff yesterday and today, but rain kind of got in our way. So I will be supplementing all of this with some videos and some PDFs for everybody to follow along with. But think about breaking down your practices differently than you have before. Again, if you are predominantly a doubles player, you don't really have that option as much unless you're, again, able to play doubles with family. So you're probably going to be turning into a singles player over the next few weeks. We don't know when doubles is going to come back on. We don't know when group clinics are going to come back on. We don't really have a timeline for matches and competition as well. So really embrace that and find ways to improve on your game that maybe you haven't focused on before. One of my favorite is short court games. You can get so much out of a short court game where you work on only one grip. You work on a continental grip. You work on underspin only. You work on topspin only in the box. You work on cross court forehands only. You work on volley to volley. You can do so much in the short court, which probably was often ignored before because we just maybe like to hit. We just maybe like to play matches. So there's a lot of different games that you can play. David and I have some that we played with the juniors before, that we, you are bouncing the ball on your side to get over the net. You've probably played it before. They have to bounce it on their side of the net to come over. And just having fun with it. Make it into a game. Don't really think of it as training so much as just play a game in the short court. Working on certain aspects of hitting full court down the middle. We don't want to just go out and mindlessly hit the ball down the middle and do nothing, get nothing out of it. Focus on your footwork. Focus on anticipating the ball. Put a focus on it, on consistency. One of my favorite for this to really work on all three of those is alternating between a forehand and a backhand every shot. So if Rhea and I were playing down the middle, I would hit a forehand, she would hit a forehand. My next shot, I would then have to hit a backhand, and then she would have to hit a backhand on her next shot. It really forces you to anticipate and get the footwork moving, and we can keep it safe too as we're trying to go down the middle. We're not really trying to hit winners on each other. We're not really trying to beat each other. We're just staying consistent with it, and again, working on our footwork and placement. One of them, all of these I'm going to say are very important. I'm a little biased here. But forehand and backhand controls are going to be a huge staple for everyone's game. There's 5 ways to control the ball. You can hit it higher, you can hit it low. You can hit it deep, you can hit it short. You can hit it fast, you can hit it slow. You can hit with topspin, underspin. You can hit it down the line, you can hit it cross court. If you can master those 5 controls, you're going to be very hard to beat. If Rhea and I are back on court, and let's say we make today a height day, I want to work on hitting a high ball over the net. She and I are going to be working on clearing the net at a certain time. We can put up a rope, or we can just even do it visually where I'm hitting a lower ball over the net. She's hitting the ball higher than mine. So we're really looking at what the ball is like coming over and the one that we have to send back. Same thing with depth. Rhea hits a short ball to me. I hit a deep ball to her. We use the service line as a marker. Same thing with spin and direction. We work on cross courts. We work on down the line. We work on slicing. We work on topspin to different corners. We can combine those two. You can work on a high, deep, heavy spin ball, and see if you can get these 5 controls down. Working on patterns is going to be another thing to work on consistency. So one of my favorites, I actually didn't add, I'm supposed to add to those, is 2 cross court, 1 down the line. So again, we're on court. I hit two balls cross court. My 3rd ball I change down the line, and we try to keep that pattern going. It helps with footwork. It helps with anticipation and just consistency. We're trying to play a game or a drill where we're keeping the ball in play. We can do this with 1 ball. One of my favorite baseline games, especially for a time like this, is called Swedish tennis. I don't know why it's called Swedish tennis. I've heard that from, picked it up from a couple friends a while back. Swedish tennis is played no winners, no errors. So again, I got Ria on the other side of the net. We're playing a point out. If I hit a winner, I don't win that point. If she hits a winner, she doesn't win that point. Nobody wins when we hit winners. If I'm able to move Ria around and force an error, then I get the point. She can do the same to me. You can even make this a little more fun where you can hit a winner if you're at the net. Or you can, there's different ways to turn these into games to make it a little bit more fun and to get the most out of your training. So again, there's just different ways to do it. I think this is probably the best way, again, as we're thinking about becoming singles players now instead of predominantly doubles players for a little bit. It's good to embrace these different ways to play the game. All right, so it's time for questions. So I don't know if there were any questions coming in on the chat there, but let me stop sharing my screen.
Great presentation, Adam.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. That was really great. We do have a question here from Laura. Laura Zhang. Her question is, how do we know we are training the adequate amount?
You can really go, to start, you can go by feel. You can think about, again, the auto regulation that we talked about earlier. If you're doing one day where you feel good, stick with it, no problem. The next day, maybe you're sore, you can dial back a little bit. Basically, again, you want to think about the volume that you're doing. So go off of what I had on that. If you're doing your mobility 5 days a week, you're probably fine. You will find a way where you're overdoing it. But I think a lot of people won't get there. The thing that you'll probably have to worry about is not recovering enough rather than working too hard. Yeah, I can get a little more information to Laura on that too, because we can then get into the specificity of tennis as well. We can know what we're doing. The more specific our training is, and then we'll know if it's enough. We can do some testing as well to really find out.
I think it's very difficult to know. Like, it's hard for us to know as well when we teach. Everybody's different. And I think each individual will know their body better. So you have to feel it. If you're too tired, then definitely rest a few more days. But I would tend to go on the not doing enough versus doing too much.
Right.
I think.
And I would use Ria, if I could use you as an example. When you were hitting the other day, Ria had a heart rate monitor. So that's kind of a good way to gauge, are you pushing yourself too far, too hard? And again, everyone's going to be different in terms of what your heart rate's going to be. So it's difficult for me to say you have to be in this range or in this spot, but you will know if it's too high.
So just to follow up on that, because I know a lot of participants on this call, and I think we have a tendency, because we love tennis so much, to push ourselves beyond our limits and try to push past our injuries. So what's your advice for when do you know to just not play? I mean, I think that's a really tough question.
Yeah, I would look at, again, what I was talking about in terms of understanding what the difference between soreness and pain is. If you're able to really, again, as an athlete, I don't think you're ever not in pain. If you're a competitive athlete, and you're working hard, it's really hard to find an athlete that's not in pain. It doesn't have something bugging them. Now, if it prevents you from performing an action safely, it prevents you from enjoying the game, it prevents you from just being able to stay consistent with your training, that would be where I would say, okay, let's hold off. We need to find somebody who can accurately diagnose what's going on. But again, it kind of goes back to just knowing your body, knowing what you can and can't handle, and then not pushing too hard. Especially now, it's really important that you're not doing more than you should. More than you should, again, is going to be different for everybody. But I would err on the side of caution for a lot of things, especially if you have dealt with chronic injuries before, and you're, again, coming from a layoff where you didn't have the intensity that you're used to.
Yeah, be very patient.
Yeah, patience is key.
Even though it's very exciting to get back on the court, you have to control the excitement and take it easy.
I'm just going to see the questions here.
Yeah, I think that having it rain has helped a little bit. It kind of tempers us a little bit. We don't have to jump out on court right away and spend all day on the court.
I'm just looking to see if there are any questions.
Got a question for LV, it looks like there.
About what I've been doing, right, to stay in shape.
Yeah, what have you been doing while on court?
Oh, it's been so rough here because they closed all the tennis courts, so you couldn't even go outside to do sprints. So I think they opened them. Maybe there's one court I found, well, two courts. They're together, and I started about a couple of days ago. I played with my friend who is my student, so I mean I kind of help her and her friends play doubles and started to do some sprints. And then before the courts, or before I found those courts, I would go for short runs in the treadmill because the weather has been crazy here. It's been so cold. And then yoga, Pilates, not a lot of weights. I would like to do a little bit more of that, but trying to stay strong enough so when I get back, teaching many hours or hidden, I don't get hurt. Because I think, like Adam said, it's very important that you kind of ease into it and know your limits. Don't push too hard. Don't rush it, because once hopefully we get past this and we'll be able to be on court as much as we want. But you don't want to get hurt now. Just go slow. It's very important.
Or are we supposed to sit in our car? I get what you're saying. Okay. Yeah, if you arrive as close to your lesson time as possible or your hitting time as possible, that's best. There's the clubhouse is closed. Everything but the courts is closed. So there wouldn't be really any reason to come and hang out early. Just try to arrive as close to your scheduled time as possible.
Just like going to the market. Just wait for the time to go in, go to your lesson or go to your play and leave right after. The bathrooms are open mainly for emergency or at your own risk. And there's no water, so make sure you bring water.
So I just, there's a question about lesson availability. Debbie, can you just talk about that a little bit, and what your capacity is right now, and the hours of demand that you're seeing? We anticipate that it might change a little bit when kids are no longer in school. And again, it will change again when LV comes online at the end of the month. So if you could just address that a little bit, Debbie, that would be great.
So right now, for any questions or requests for lessons, you can just email me, or you can email Adam directly. I'm working on Elvie's schedule for when she arrives, and so far we started with booking the lessons Adam and I had before the shelter in place, and now I'm working on filling Eric's lesson as he's no longer at the club, and Elvie will probably take over a lot of these lessons. The next step will be to ask everyone if they will be around during the summer, because we have about 3 more weeks, maybe 4, of the regular schedule, and then we're going to move on to the summer schedule where the kids might be available in the morning. Even parents might be available in the morning now because they don't have to take care of schooling. We're also going to ask if a lot of people are staying around because traveling might not be possible. So everybody should receive an email next week about their availability for the summer. But for now, if you want a lesson in the next 3 weeks, you can just email me, and we'll try to accommodate.
Okay, so.
And we're right now we're getting close to being fully booked.
Yeah.
At least with Adam and myself, but mainly because some people might not be available in the morning, for example, where we have time, but then our afternoons are getting booked, and the weekends are getting booked as well.
And Gigi, stringing right now, nothing really official. I am kind of taking rackets when I'm on court. So I just need to come up with a system that will make it easy for everyone in terms of dropping off and picking up with the clubhouse closed. So we might get a drop box or something going outside the pro shop that people can drop off and fill a stringing sheet out, or you can just email me. And then I'll do probably the stringing at home. I will be disinfecting the rackets when I pick them up, and then they'll be wrapped in plastic for you to pick up, essentially. I'm going to test it tonight with a few rackets I got from some members. So we'll kind of see what works and then try to get something in place over the weekend.
Okay, so it's almost 8 o'clock. So I think if people don't have any other questions, we can wrap this up. But Adam, thank you so much. That was a really informative, great presentation. I think the follow-up is that you will be posting some additional videos and supplemental information. And I think there are some requests for the power presentation that you showed. So I will follow up with you on that. And Ross, we can work on posting all that information to the website. And I think the big takeaway from here is that, we're in uncertain times. This is a work in progress. We all certainly love tennis, and we need to focus on our health and our fitness and controlling our enthusiasm and focusing on minimizing our injuries and just retuning in general. But this was really great. I want to thank you all so much. I just want to make sure no one else has any questions. Elvie, we are so excited to see you. We hope that you have a safe drive across the country. Keep us posted on your journey, and we'll keep in touch with you via Ross. And so, go BTC. We are a great community. We're all here for each other, and just reach out. We're all here for each other, and we welcome all comments and suggestions. So thank you so much for tonight. And again, thank you so much for all the effort that all of you have put into getting tennis all on our radars during this weird, very weird shelter in place time. Adam, I've really enjoyed all your workout videos. They have been exceptional. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Thanks a lot.
All right, so I think we can wrap up, and I'll see you guys all soon.
Thank you so
Oh, yeah,
much, Adam.
and,
Great job.
One last thing from Alex. Don't forget to do takeout. Takeout from the grill.
Yeah, Elvie, we are looking forward to seeing you in a couple weeks, and if we can help you in any way, just sing out. And you know, good luck with your travels. It's a wonderful drive east to west.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited. I think it'll be maybe 9 days or something like that. So I'll keep you posted, and I'll reach out to see if you have any tips. I'll say, hey, I'm going to be in this state. Anything to see? Should I stay one more night? Just, you know.
Yeah, just let us know how we can help you out.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
All right, thank you all. Thank
Thanks,
you for
everyone.
attending.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
So much.
Bye.
Bye.